We're going to chat again. Hello, we're back with the final of our 4-video series, An English Teacher's Guide to Mapping. Barbary Duke will be taking us through studying journeys. Thank you, Barbary, and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Anita. Well, we're looking at this final piece, and I use final loosely because I think if you put on your creative hat, you could do some integrations into English language arts and many other places in more ways than I've suggested in this video series. So let's look at journeys. First of all, Google Lit Trips, created by Jerome Berg. He is a technology specialist and has created an online resource that is quite rich. Many folks are using this resource, and I'll show for you kind of what some of these resources look like. Now, these are journeys only. So what you get on a virtual lit trip versus using GIS, you get a virtual globe experience. It does require some software, so and you don't have to use Google Earth. I'll just make that point. So you can use Google Earth, or Esri's got a product called ArcGIS Explorer Desktop. You can open those KMLs in either of those pieces once you download them. So you can see there on the screen what I've done is downloaded a KML of the Watsons Go to Birmingham. This was created by a teacher to use with her students, and she thought, hey, it's okay, so I'm going to share it. And indeed, it's a nice set of questions, and what this teacher has done is put a picture and the chapters and questions and prompts to go with the chapters along the journey. So just another way, again, students are still reading, but this is another way to interact with questions and think through things. Keep in mind that on the Google Lit Trips site, these are journeys only. They are juried, reviewed, so they don't allow just anybody to post random things. There are many journeys available up at Google Lit Trips, created by both teachers and students. So something to consider when we look at this further, this notion of journeys. So I mentioned the Watsons Go to Birmingham. I've mentioned them throughout this series of videos, so I thought it made sense to mention them again. That particular activity that I created, it is sort of a one-stop shop for this entire concept of how you might integrate it. It covers many curricular areas as well as the journeys here. So we can look at the analysis. So I'm switching over here on the right side of my screen to look at the map. Again, we're in Explorer Online. This is the Journeys map. And what I've done is created just a couple of dots just to give you some examples. So as I click on the Watsons family dot, we could zoom in closer. I actually placed them at their beginning of the journey in Flint, Michigan. And then gave going to show you what this pop-up looks like. So you can see this is just a link to a picture file, and what I've done is connected that to, made it a hyperlink to the map itself. So if we click on that, it's going to go ahead and launch ArcGIS Explorer Online, the Watsons map. So I'm connecting maps with maps, giving us the power to do the journey, look at the analysis. So we've seen that one before, and give it just a second to come up. Now, I have several maps that are ready to use up at ArcGIS Online concerning journeys. So we'll look also today at the selected works of T.S. Spivet, one of my favorite new pieces of writing out there. Fantastic opportunity to talk about cartography and thinking and how we look at mapping. It's centered around a young boy who is making several journeys. Okay, so here our Watson's map has come up, and you can see we can look at population. We could even configure this display. Perhaps I'd like to look at some other aspect of the data. That's a great opportunity. I can even change and say, okay, I looked at 1960, now I'm going to look at 1999 and see how that population changed. So all these are part of that original lesson. Good stuff. All right, so I'm going to get rid of my Watson's map here and close my pop-up and go over here to TS Spivet. Now TS is a fun little guy. Yes.
Oh, sorry. On the Watson's map, do you have a lesson for that?
Indeed, I do. That's available up at ARC Lessons. If you just go to esri.com/ARC Lessons, do a search either for my last name, Duke, or search Watson's. It will pop right up.
Thanks, Barbary.
So, T.S. Spivet, we can explore his world. Very cool website. If you go to tsspivet.com, and we'll give that a second to pull up his map. And as we get this T.S. Spivet map up, I want to address the notion of presentations. I think that this has the potential to be a powerful tool beyond the analysis in giving students a venue to present their ideas. Most English language arts classrooms, at least at the middle school and high school level, have objectives, state or national objectives, that require them to do some sort of presentation, public speaking, that kind of thing. This is a good opportunity to, it's an alternative to PowerPoint, but gives kids the ability to use this interactive map. So here's TS's home. We can go to the layers here. If I double click on that, it zooms me straight to his home, and got a link there to the TS Spivet website, which is very cool and has lots of things to explore. And they hit you right there at the beginning. Takes you to Montana and starts to draw maps, which is really cool. So, TS Spivet's home, all right. We could zoom over to the Smithsonian Institution, which is the end of his journey in the book. And along the way, so we'll zoom into the cowboy condo here. Zoom to. Now the cowboy condo is a spot where he is on the rail lines. And as we can turn on Amtrak stations, we've got rail lines, there's some information about environmental protection, all things related to this book and his story as he tells it. Now, if we click the presentation, look what I can do. I can begin to take snapshots can change my title, zoom in where I like, and then if I switch over to start the presentation mode, I can move through this just like you might a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. The perk here is that this is an active map. So I can zoom in and out in the middle of the presentation, or I can dial in to a particular slide. I don't believe that it takes much creativity on your part as an educator to see how powerful this could be for your students. Because this environment allows us to save things up in the cloud, you can have group work and class sets of things, students sharing with each other. So cool opportunities there. And a new way to look at those journeys that gets them beyond just the journey and just where did they stop, but looking at why they stopped in those places. Really getting into the whys of where. Because all of us have journeys in life that we take for reasons. So, all right. So that concludes this adventure on journeys. If you're interested in some more of those kinds of things, I do have lessons available. And speaking of that ARC Lessons site, so we'll go to esri.com/ARC Lessons. And if you want my lessons in particular, the easiest way to get those is just type in my last name. So there you can see all sorts of goodies. The Watsons, if you're needing a Thanksgiving lesson, it's Grandma's House we go. We'll get you there. Maybe some baseball. Just all sorts of things for you. All right. So thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to have you send those to me via email, and I'd be happy to work with you.
Barbary, thank you so much. These 4 videos, I think, are going to be an invaluable resource for anybody who would like to integrate English language arts into their curriculum, or social studies, or I mean a myriad of different topics and subject matters. But you have a distinct way of presenting them, and I just am thankful that you were willing to spend the time with us. Thank you again.
My pleasure.